you have to be multifaceted. And I'd say that's crucial. Like, even if you are a full-time musician, you have to be multifaceted, at least like in the sense that you need to know how to produce yourself, have the enough savvy to put together a demo or something, to have polished enough stems that can be sent off to be mixed and mastered and stuff like that.
Yeah, should we just jump right into healthcare?
Perfect. We're all fucked. Yeah. Next question.
For our listeners, we are in the U.S., if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Actually, I actually am curious about health insurance as a musician. Like, what is the deal? Do you know? I mean, Mike, we've hardly had an opportunity to like just sit down and hang and chat because we're always surrounded by so many people that have to control a room. Like, if Billy's not blasting like fart sounds and Chris isn't running around screaming something,
you're right.
Like, there's so much, and I'm just kind of sitting there waiting for my name to be called. Like, Nick, you're up, do the thing. Okay,
right. I know. It's all business, or there's a show we're watching, basically.
Yeah. A circus, more like it.
Yeah. You started that question with. Or that statement with, we're always surrounded by, I was like, stupid people. No. Okay, good. Yeah, I know. You're right. Yeah, there haven't been many moments to breathe or pauses. Not many of those. Yeah, when we get together.
So what are you doing? What are you working on? I Google Mike Semesky and all sorts of projects come up, raunchy and I actually stumbled across your like 2012, 2013 YouTube covers, which I'm glad you kept up because man, Born to Die, your Born to Die Lana Del Rey cover has 92,000 views. Do you get views like that anymore?
I haven't released anything in 12 years. So, I haven't put anything out on YouTube, I don't think, since like 2012, maybe 2013. The one that everyone likes is the Imogen Heap cover, which I'm still super stoked on how that one came out. And I do like how the Lana cover came out as well. It's just such crappy video production. And like, there's zero editing other than splicing together.
Yeah, at the time that was pretty much okay. Like there's the first bunch of videos that we put online. Like I think Billy has most of them unlisted at the moment, but I think we're gonna open those up pretty soon. There's like bedroom guitar playthroughs of early Ever Forthright songs, and they have tons of views because at the time it was like, yeah, just put yourself up playing and
yeah. That was actually, so those covers were all in my parents' basement because I was living in an apartment at the time. And, when you're a singer, man, in an apartment,
it's tough.
Yeah, it's always a crapshoot when it comes to, how forgiving your neighbors are. And so, and you can't turn down, at least not if you're a metal singer,
I refuse.
Yeah. I only know 11. Yeah. No. So I shot all my covers in my parents' basement. Yeah. Fun fact. So yeah, those are their, like crappy overhead lighting. There was no soft lighting. Nothing like that. And
I hope parents are getting some kind of royalties for holding up the entire music industry.
Yes.
Every parent has like made some investment, or every successful artist, their initial investors were their parents. And I really hope that parents all over the world are getting a little bit. Like I've mentioned it a bunch of times on here that the Ever Forthright album was recorded in my parents' basement.
Oh, yeah.
And in Billy's bedroom in his parents' house.
Damn. So yeah. Wait, were your parents the band parents? Were they the rehearsal house?
That was the band parents. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
that's where we had the van and trailer parked. Like I remember when we went on our first tour, my dad like looked over the trailer and like caulked up any gaps in the the paneling to make sure things looked good.
Is he a mechanic? I don't actually know what your dad does. Okay.
No, not really.
No.
I'm sure my dad is listening to this right now. But no, like caulking is not one of his skills, but he tried.
Gotcha. Oh, dude, bless their hearts, man. That's a good set of parents you got there.
Yeah.
The parents who let in their high school aged kids to rehearse, those are the real saints right there. That's not me trying to one up you, but my parents in high school, that was like when I was first trying to sing. So like they heard the real rough mic, rough, you know, and I'm sure you were, you know, if you were recording your first stuff there, yeah, that was the rough Ever Forthright and stuff too. So the early days, man, when the parents hear you in the early days and you come upstairs and they're like, yeah, that was good.
I think I was always, like I had enough awareness to know if I sounded good or bad when I was home practicing by myself. So me practicing at home was never torture. I think what was really torture was like when we had to set up a drum set in the basement for a rehearsal.
Yeah.
And then we really started smashing stuff. But my parents always loved to hear me play. They probably liked to hear us rehearsing as well, I guess, to some extent. But
even the screaming, they
probably didn't like so much. They probably didn't like that so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was like a whole week where Chris was slept over, and every day we were recording in downstairs, and there was saxophones and screaming, and it was like I can't imagine what that was like for them to tolerate. I mean, I don't think any of us even worked, so
yeah,
they were probably off at work, and we had the whole day to ourselves in the house. Man, holy cow, the freedom to think of that, just like waking up with a week ahead of you, where you're like,
oh yeah,
I guess I'm just gonna, record music every day this week because
sure,
I'm 20 years old. I got nothing better to do.
Totally. Yeah. That is the priority. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Man, I can't even remember. Those days, but I do remember though, like high school age, rehearsals where we were still jamming out songs, wasn't file sharing, and just playing those songs over and over. And for some reason, there was like a weekly rehearsal. Like we had to get together every week in high school. I guess like to your point, there was nothing else to do. So, it was just kind of like, let's play music and jam the same four chord progressions over and over. And
what's funny is that I was also very type A about only the guitar,
Okay.
Like when it came to school, I was very, I'll do my homework. Maybe never. It doesn't matter. None of this matters. I'm going to music school. But when it came to guitar and practicing, I was very organized and like I had a routine and I have to do this, this, and this.
Okay.
And, and like we have to put out music and record albums and it's, so there was like just a part of my brain that was like ready to do all that stuff. But I didn't really give a crap about school, which is not a lesson I want my kids to learn.
Yeah. Don't listen to this. Were you already like recording yourself at the time? Like, had you figured out like your DAW? Or?
No, I didn't do any of that.
Okay.
Like, I met Billy and that's when we started recording stuff.
Okay.
So the first, we had mentioned this when we did the Ever Forthright podcast, which God knows when that's going to come out. We talked about the beginnings of Ever Forthright and, so I had a four track cassette. Oh yeah, 4-track cassette recorder.
Tascam, one of those.
Yeah, one of those things.
Yeah.
So I think it was a cassette recorder. I think so. Oh my, that slurping is gross.
So sorry, bro. Sorry. It's not gonna be. I'll cut that shit.
I'm kind of turned on. ASMR shit in here.
Slurping podcast.
Yeah.
I had a 4-track recorder and I thought I was so sick. I was like, oh man, this is awesome. I'm gonna. Yeah. I was listening to so much like Racer X. Racer X was my jam. Like,
remind me. Wait, was that a punk?
No, it was like an 80s shred band. And it was pretty much just like completely diatonic guitar licks, like and harmonized in thirds all the damn time, always harmonizing. And so I would just like record like hours of meandering things harmonized in thirds on this thing, and so that was one vehicle for recording myself. The other was my voicemail, and I'm just remembering this now. I would make my voicemail like a 3-minute shred guitar solo. so whenever I wanted to show someone how I play, I'd be like, "Yeah, call my phone number."
Hello, you've reached. Oh my god!
I'd be like, "Oh, do you want to hear like a demo of me playing? Yeah, call my phone number and I'll hang up, and then it'll send a voicemail and you'll hear me playing."
I've never heard of that. That is hilarious.
And so that's how I do it. And like, I thought I was, I thought I was cutting edge. Like, you guys don't understand like the kind of tech that I'm using. Meanwhile, like, you got bands at like the very same time. You have bands like, the early prog bands like Periphery and stuff, like already putting things on 7string.org and all the forums and producing themselves. And I'm like, yo, call my phone. You're going to check out my voicemail.
Yeah, dude.
So yeah, I was way behind on the tech stuff. Like that's not where my brain was. And then I met Billy, and I had no interest in learning how to do the recording stuff. I was like,
oh, I didn't for a while either. Yeah.
I'll do the music, you do the recording.
Was he on the computer, like actually?
Yeah, he was
producing?
He had a friend that even when Billy was like 18, they were like renting out some garage in a little building behind a bowling alley. And even before that, they had like a little office space in like and just like a building kind of like in the hood part of Long Island. There was just like this office building where you can like rent units. Like, you go up to the 4th floor and some guy rents this for his accounting business. Some guy rents this for his, for his, I don't know, some consulting thing. And then you have the next room, which was the recording studio that Billy and this guy rented. So in there was like, they built like a little drum room, a vocal booth, a mixing board, some monitors. That was like the first recording studio that I remember walking into. Then came the garage, the slightly nicer garage behind the bowling alley. Omar remembers that. That was cool. Do you remember the OG like office building, Omar? That was
that was before my time.
Yeah. So when I met Billy, he was already kind of like leaning into this stuff. And then we recorded the first Ever Forthright song in that bowling alley garage. And actually the everything we didn't have any money. So Cubase was like a cracked version of Cubase, and all the plugins were cracked versions of stuff. And
I started on Cubase as well. 4 or 5 maybe at the time.
I used Cubase for years because that's like what I was used to seeing. I was like, I'm not going to go to Logic. I've been using Cubase all this time.
Right.
We didn't mention this in the podcast we did with Ever Forthright, but the first Ever Forthright song we recorded, the file became corrupted and crashed and got wiped out. So the first Ever Forthright song, I don't remember what it was, like what it sounded like, but it was a spin-off of some Dragon Force song. I remember we heard some Dragon Force thing on a Guitar Hero.
Fire on the Flames.
Yeah. I was like, I could write something like that. And that was the inspiration.
I'll tell you exactly how that went down. We're at my buddy Charles's house. We're playing Guitar Hero. Nick's like, all right, I'll learn this song in a week. You know what? Give me 3 days. A week later, he doesn't learn the song. He comes back with his own fucking complete track. And it was fucking awesome.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and that was actually the second song, because the first one crashed and we lost the file.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why it took a week instead of 3 days. Got it.
Probably. Yeah. I don't even know where we can hear those first Ever Forthright songs. I remember for a time you could find them on some like Russian like leaked music website. I don't know where. I don't have. Wait, the one that I have up there that I showed.
That's it. That's the one.
That is the first one, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for right now because I have mine around here too.
Oh yeah. So then we did a second one. So let me get it so I could show.
Their military's currently using it for like those torture chambers where they just blast.
Well, yeah, I mean that's why they're taking out bridges, because it's just too powerful.
So yeah, this I guess is the first one. This is the very, very first one.
Recognize
that no one has ever heard. I actually don't even know the names of these songs. Like we didn't print it on it.
Those old CDR, the slim cases.
Oh, this is like a little piece of nothing. I don't even remember the names of these songs. Shit. And then we had a second batch of music that came out, but I don't think we ever printed that. That had songs on it like oh shit. There was one song called like Pure Blind that was like when we started really getting into like Beneath the Massacre and things like that, like really fast, super heavy type things. And then number 3 is this one. So people don't really know that this is actually the third Ever Forthright album. Can I find any of these old songs? Ever Forthright.
I'm sorry, you said there was a second one and it's not that one?
The second one is...
Well, the first one you're saying is Lost, right? The first one was Lost, right? From the crash?
That was the first track, the first recording, like individual track.
Can I share my screen?
Are you telling me there's an entire Ever Forthright album that I'm unaware of? That's...
Maybe.
You looking for shoes, dude?
No, this is like wildly off, actually. Like, here's Pure Blind. Oh, maybe we crammed it all into one CD.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay. Oh, yeah, Just Onslaught. These are the early songs. Yeah, and I think, in Alien's perspective, this is the first song that I wrote, the Dragon Force spinoff. In Alien's perspective,
dude. 2 and 3 minute long songs.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Check that out. And then this was like the second wave of songs. Look at these names: Biocentric Concrete, so funny.
Oh my!
Split the Hollow Apparatus, Let the Better Consume You. These were like our second batch of songs.
Oh shit!
That were like very different from these Dragon Force type of tunes. Yeah, I don't know if anyone could find this. I'd be super curious to give it a whirl. Doob.fm play tracks. Is this just like is this a spam button? Is this like download spam?
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. Here, found it.
Oh my god.
Pure Blind, Prince not found. Yeah, I don't know. These are just in the these are going to be like in the depths of the internet somewhere, these old songs. But
oh my god.
So where were we? Yeah, health insurance, right? So do you have health insurance?
Man, for a while, dude, oh god. Private health insurance is horrible and so expensive, and I was relying on that for a very long time. Had to resort to public for a while, and now my wife, who actually, we are getting married next week. My wedding is next Saturday. Yeah. Cool, we're actually married already. Technically, we did the courthouse thing, but we're doing the whole ceremony, and I'm on my wife's insurance. She is, she works at a hospital and stuff, and state hospital and state benefits are pretty decent.
Nice. I mean, the real way to do it is like, man, if you can get like a job at like Google or something, or I used to work at Verizon. When I worked at Verizon, that was like the best health insurance. Like completely paid for, everything completely covered. Now I work for a smaller company that it's all right, but that shit sucks.
Dude.
Yeah. And in the States, you can be on your parents' plan up until you're 26.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's right.
That really kind of we'd have more mama's basement musicians if they extended that to like 30.
Yeah.
You know, if I could have been on my parents' health insurance until I was 28, that would have been 2 more years in mom's basement writing.
You'd have less musicians committing suicide at 27.
Is it? Oh, that's true. That is a thing.
I mean, not to make a joke out of it, but I don't think that 26 was always the age. I think that it's changed over time, but I think it's coincidence. But yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's a cause effect, but I know it is such a strange thing. That really forces you to grow the fuck up when you're 27 and get a fucking job.
That's a depressing time too. Holy, that hits you like a ton of bricks. I remember about that age. My parents also happened to sell their house at about that age. So I had to get like my first apartment, my first like full-time job. And that was pretty much when I was thinking, I guess that's it for the music thing for a little while. And people didn't understand that. They were like, what's Nick doing? It's like, what do you mean what I'm doing? I'm trying to feed myself and have a place to live. And what's really funny is that was just shortly after the Mayonnaise guitar solo contest. So you've got this one thing where people are like, thinking I'm going to put out a ton of music and video and do the whole musician thing. Meanwhile, in the real world, I don't even have a place to really sleep unless, I get a shitty job. And that's a really bad position to be in, because if you've spent the last decade just pretty much only playing the guitar, your resume kind of looks like crap.
Right.
So yeah, it makes it extremely hard to get a job. So I had to go back to school and learn how to program, and it took a couple of years. It took like a good like 5 years of pretty much saying, all right, I guess I'm not playing guitar right now, to like piece it all back together.
Did you go to a master's program? I don't know what you're. Okay.
Yeah. I did. I kind of was killing two birds with one stone. I was doing business school, and I was doing like programming courses on my own time. So like the online boot camps and stuff like that. I was like, something's going to hit. Like someone's going to see a master's degree in business school and the programming. Yeah. And it worked out. The first job I got was like project managing stuff at a digital agency. Okay. And like project managing like digital marketing projects and website designs and things like that. And that kind of hit both on the nose. They're like, oh, you're doing your business thing and you're doing programming. Like you're perfect for this. And then it just kind of went from there. But, now that I'm back in it, I see a lot of this, like even successful, people who are seemingly successful. Yeah. I mean, success is such a weird word, because I think I'm successful. I don't make a penny from doing this, but I consider myself extremely successful.
Very often it suggests something other than what it actually is.
Sure.
Yeah. I feel like I'm successful because I'm extremely happy to be doing what I'm doing, and I'm able to be doing what I'm doing. Am I like being hired to track like little simple guitar parts on like the next, Beyonce track? Like, no, but I don't think that would make me, I mean, that'd be nice, but I already consider myself. Nick. Yeah. I mean, I already consider myself successful is the point.
Right. It's not necessarily the net worth from your music profits and stuff like that.
Maybe it's for somebody.
Yeah, sure. I guess it's in the eye of the beholder, what defines your success and all that. And yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, do people like your music? I think that's really the most important thing, like, I don't know, if people listen to it and enjoy it, then I think that's a huge success, So yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I have, next month we have an artist, Northern, coming on. Quebecian.
Oh shit!
Northern is a guy, I think, or maybe that's the name of his band. But like, there you go. No, that's Northern. He's got very nice, really great content.
Okay. I thought they were like a band.
It is a band. He does do live shows, but he's like the only face you see on that Instagram. Okay. Really, my point is that he talks on his Instagram sometimes about being a designer. Like he's a designer full time, and he's made comments on his Instagram of like, I really like how this amp matches my aesthetic. I really like how this guitar matches this aesthetic. I really like how this new website. I think it might have been the new Aaron Marshall's new website or something. He may have worked on, but he'll comment on the design of things because that's what he does for a living. And I just think that's kind of cool that you can be multifaceted today. You don't have to. I think I made some post on Instagram a couple months ago about just like kind of like go for it. Prioritize what you want to do, go for it, yada yada. And someone messaged me like, "Thanks, man. I really needed this. I'm planning on quitting my job soon and focusing on this full time." And I was like, "Well, I didn't say that."
yeah. Right. You got.
I didn't say like, quit your job. You're not a musician until you're doing it full time. I did not say that at all.
Right. You have a place to stay.
Yeah. Don't make a post like
available.
Nick Llerandi inspired me to quit my job and
right.
Now I'm homeless.
I know. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah. No, you have to be multifaceted. And I'd say, that's crucial. Like, even if you are a full-time musician, honestly, I would say if you're a modern age musician, you have to be multifaceted, at least like in the sense that you need to know how to produce yourself. You at least know how to record and edit and, have the enough savvy to put together a demo or something, or to have polished enough stems that can be sent off to be mixed and mastered and stuff like that.
You might need a gig to bankroll those things.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if you're gonna send something off to get mixed and mastered because you like need that professional edge because it's out of your skill set. You might need to be a mailman for a little while and send those.
They have good benefits.
They have very good benefits.
Federal.
Yeah.
And a mailman vocalist could record themselves all day on their phone, just walking around, dropping off mail, yelling into the phone. Totally doing it.
I mean, exercise is a hard thing to factor into your day when you're like I have a really hard time finding time to exercise. And heck, if you're a mailman, you're killing two birds with one stone. So
yeah, every day's leg day. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny when you were talking about like the Tascam, the old school way of recording. I feel like, were you like late 80s child?
Yeah, 88.
Okay. I'm 86. And so I feel like I was, and maybe we were sort of like on the tail end of like the analog days of recording. Like my first ever like studio experience, was, it was like producers they were using very early Pro Tools, but it was on tape, it was analog and stuff. And, my demos before that, at home were using a 4-track or 8-track or something, Tascam. And then I think eventually it moved to like it was like a memory card or something like that. But then, then after that, I got my PC, same as you, and had like a cracked version of Cubase and sorry, Cubase, and cracked plugins, all that stuff. And
well, at the time, those things were a fortune because you had to like go to Guitar Center or something and buy like the box. Like, I'm going to go home and install Cubase.
That's right. That's
and
right.
It was like you can now be your own producer for $1,200. Get the whole Cubase suite. I remember when Adobe Photoshop was like $700.
Right. Yeah, the old model, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and now
versus a license.
Now the price is infinite.
Yeah, right. Well, now you pay forever.
Yeah. Well, now you get a subscription. If you want to use it a month, you subscribe for a month. You don't want to use it, you unsubscribe. It's such
it caters to a musician. I think. Much better than the old model.
Yeah. I remember looking at those boxes in Guitar Center thinking like, who the F is able to afford all this shit?
No. Like I need to take out a loan to like learn how to use this fucking compressor.
And then it's out of date.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Yeah. And so just, I remember just like having friends who, once I had actually like switched over to the computer, just like out of necessity, and like recording and producing myself, like just having friends who like kind of gave me the crash courses, like, my friend and Anoop, he went to one of the, I think it was called Sheffield Studio. It was one of the like local in Maryland, like production schools, like audio engineering schools. And I think that they had like recording and live sound engineering programs. But him and some of my other friends went there. Drew Sif-Stalin. I don't know if you know Drew Reynolds, but
never met him, but I know who he is.
Yeah. We grew up in the same neighborhood.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah.
He's funny.
Smaltimore.
I've been meaning to reach out to him for years. I mean, I'm sure he knows who Ever Forthright is. We were all like blossoming in 2010. So
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's great. But yeah, like he, went to Sheffield as well, and then, or maybe it was Full Sail. I can't remember. But anyway, like I was kind of like a beneficiary of all of their like collective knowledge because I just happened to be their friends, and I was like, if I had a question, I was like, "Yo, Drew, like, what do I do if like the
That's
computer
important.
isn't on? Press on. Okay. So seriously, they really helped me out. And then I took some online courses, and that just like really, really just like got me rolling. Like I was able to hit the ground running, like, after getting a new computer, taking some online courses, and then finally learning Pro Tools. No looking back after that. Cause that's my everyday. Like my everyday is Pro Tools, and it's like writing for a client, recording or editing or whatever. And yeah, man, like, but it wasn't always that way. You were talking about like the evolution of your career and everything. And, I got my bachelor's in psychology thinking I was going to go straight into a doctoral program. Like I did this honors like cohort program where we were matched with master's level students in the clinical psychology program. And we were like conducting our own research, administering the test, conducting the research, crunching the numbers, doing our statistical analysis, and then defending our thesis and stuff. And it was all to like not have to do a master's to go straight into a doctoral program. But like, I started like making a lot of progress in music, like kind of at the same time. And so I was like, let me hold off on the doctoral thing for a minute. And so like to be able to, sustain, myself and like live, on my own and everything, I had to get a job and stuff. And I worked at a psychiatric hospital, like on an inpatient unit, and just like broke up fucking fights all day because I was working with teenage boys who were psychotic, and it was, dude, yeah. So that was horrible. And then like I worked outpatient for a couple years, and if you're listening and you're in a psychology program, work outpatient. That's all I have to say. Yes, when people are on stable meds. And so anyway, I did that for a few years, and then, but all the while I was working on music. I was working on music, working on my recording and engineering chops, and the Haarp Machine did like that open audition. And, well, actually before that, I grew up in the same area as Periphery and Animals as Leaders and stuff like that. And I knew Misha, and Alex Boyce was like one of the guitarists at the time. And I did like a couple songs with him and with Misha and Mark, Haunted Shores.
Oh, you were on one of those early Haunted Shores songs?
Oh yeah. Well, I did 2 songs. I think they only like released one of them, probably because, I think they only released one because there was a ton of hate on it. They wanted to redo the Chris songs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I can't remember which one it was, but like they'd already released a song with Chris on it and stuff. And so like everyone had heard that and everything. And they're like, no, redo this, new lyrics, new melodies, all that. And so they released it again, and everyone's obviously used to the old one. They're like, this sucks.
Yeah,
and so
that's always going to happen.
I know. That was I'm sure you know this all too well, but like, dude, just internet hate. That was, I think, my first experience with it. And so that's when I developed the armor, like oh shit, all right, this is going to happen in perpetuity. Okay, got it. And so anyway, I think that Al had heard that Haunted Shore song. And so he actually hit me up on Facebook and was like, yo, I like that song that you did. And I looked into some of the other projects you've done. And, I'd love to hear you on this song or whatever. And so, yeah, I did an audition. I was working at like this outpatient, like community, like rehab center. And at the time living on my own, and I remembered like recording my demo, like with my roommate downstairs and everything, and just like submitting that, and then moving out like a couple months later, like to England, to London, and
yeah.
So, like just, to piggyback off what you were saying, like it took, a while, to actually be able to, do something,
You had the full-time job, you had your degree, you had a place to live,
mm-hmm.
and then you quit all of that to go be in the Haarp Machine.
Horrible mistake. Stay in school, kids. Yes, learn from my mistakes. No. And I know it was like, it was a step backwards in the in the income department, I
mean, it was a step in that direction. Like the amount of mud you got to tread through oftentimes is a lot.
Yes.
There's no guarantees. There's no, sometimes I've said a bunch of times on here that the harder you work, the luckier you get.
I agree.
That's just an example to me of working hard. And I wouldn't say it was like a fruitless endeavor. I heard about you that way, that a lot of people heard that album. That album came out at at a time when prog metal was was hot. Right now, to me, prog metal doesn't seem like the hot, searing iron that it was back then. I think things are shifting. You have a new flavor of metal coming out of different types of bands, but back then it was pretty fresh.
Cool. Well, question for you about that, because I've had that same thought. Do you think it's because you and I and everyone our generation coming out of that era, do you think it's because we were more plugged in and just thirstier for that music? Like, were we like seeking out those bands because it was, we were new to it, do you think? Or are you actually noticing, are you just as plugged in and noticing that the trend is less in the prog direction and a new flavor, like you're saying?
I really wasn't that plugged in then. Like I was even a latecomer to bands like Periphery and Animals. Like those albums had already come out when I found out who they were. I was not privy to like going online and
7-string era, right?
Yeah, that was not me.
Totally. Gotcha.
But if I just take a step back and just kind of take a look what is happening, those bands are still playing pretty much the same venues they were playing 10 years ago. They haven't really grown. Like Periphery is still playing the Gramercy and Irving Plaza. They haven't graduated to like Madison Square Garden. But then you have new bands like Sleep Token and
more digestible, would you say? Or?
It's a little bit cooler. You got like a little bit sexier. You got like elements of hip hop in there. Like I think there's a tinge of like your dad's music when you listen to when prog metal comes out now that is super closely tied to what it sounded like 10, 12 years ago. I actually have no clue, but I feel like, Tesseract just came out with a new album and I have no idea if that is grasping new young listeners or if that is really just the usual old audience now, just a decade older. I don't know, but I'm certain that Sleep Token has young fans. I'm also coming at this having spoken to Javier Reyes from Animals like a year ago about this. And he was like, yeah, young guitar players want to, look up to the guitarist that kind of reminds them of themselves. Like is
sure.
Like I could be that guy, but when you look at Animals, you're looking at two guys who are now in their 40s, and it's not as cool to like him, and it's way cooler to like a young, sexy, new coming guitar player who you can more closely relate to. I'm speaking from like the perspective of a 20-year-old aspiring guitar player.
Totally, might not even be a conscious thing, but. I totally see what you're saying.
Yeah. And something else he said was he was like in a coffee shop and someone tapped him on the shoulder and was like, hey, you're in that band Animals as Leaders. Like, yeah. He's like, oh, I used to listen to you guys. And
I used to.
He was like, yeah. And he was like, I don't think he said this in the conversation, but he was saying to me,
Right.
But what did he mean by used to? Like, I guess he outgrew it. Like something changed. He doesn't listen to it anymore. I mean,
I've heard that too. Yeah, I've definitely heard that.
yeah, and I've probably heard that in terms of Forever Forthright too. Like,
I bet.
I used to listen to you guys all the time, or when that album came out, this happened.
But it's different when you're still putting music out, like they are.
Yeah, and we would probably, if we were putting out albums every 2 years, maybe that would be a better like a way to sample that, to like test that to see. But I have no clue. So I guess we'll see. Like, is Ever Forthright going to get new listeners, like new young listeners, or is it going to be mostly that the now kind of older crowd looking for that bit of nostalgia? I have no idea. But if it's anything like what looks to be happening in other areas of this type of prog metal, I have a feeling it's going to be mostly like returning customers as opposed to new customers.
Sure. I know it would take some very intentional marketing and you know what I mean, to reach a new audience. But I guess, I mean, your point is more so just like is your point more so the style of it, and then the image, like, hey, we're not spring chickens anymore, if you will. Like,
I think there's an element of that. What didn't exist when Ever Forthright was first coming around was like the sexy internet Instagram person. You know, that didn't exist yet. Now, if I like hit the explore button, there's like, you know, loads of guitar players with 300,000 followers. Like, they're good players. You know, they're all playing it's not for me, but they know how to play the guitar. But more importantly, they kind of look confident and cool. They got like the tattoos and like a cool shirt. It looks like they come from money, frankly. You know, I don't know if that's true, but it doesn't look like they've had the same "you got to solve your problems" bubble that I was in. It kind of looks like there's possibly, you know, they've got some cushion that's keeping them nice and comfortable, so that way they could focus on like what they're doing. You know, I don't think they're recording those videos from the comfort of their own swanky apartment or their fancy home, but it certainly creates a facade of this person is already at the tippy top.
And I guess that's the theme. You know, you were talking about like the Mayona's, like, you know, competition and everything like that, and people look at that and they're like, whoa, this guy's a fucking pro, right? You know, because your name was associated with that guitar company and stuff like that. And it's just another example of people will never really know the behind the scenes. It's just kind of evolved. The image has evolved a little bit. And
yeah, at that time, Omar and I and my brother, a couple other people that we're friends with, were working in a medical billing.
Oh, really?
In a medical billing job. So if we ever actually went to work, we often didn't. Or if we did go to work, it was like one person's. No, we didn't work. Or we would like we'd clock each other in with our own password. So like one person would get there on time and punch in all four people.
Yes.
So like everyone get started can like, you know, get paid for when they clocked in. And we pretty much didn't have a boss at this place. But anyway, no one knew that I was working at like a medical billing company, just trying to get by.
I guess I very rarely like scroll through those videos and stuff, but you know, I see suggested videos, but only when it's like on my way back to like the home tab where I'm looking at my own friends' shit, you know. Every now and then, I'll get a suggested thing, you know.
I guess what I'm getting at, I think, is if that's the hotness, that doesn't sound anything like the kind of music that Ever Forthright is putting out.
The type of stuff that you're seeing from those videos?
Yeah, it's very different. It's very, very different.
What kind of stuff? Are they just shredding? Are they just doing leads? Or are they playing anything and looking good while doing it?
Looking good. It's definitely looking good.
Looking good, like smooth. It's almost like smooth jazz with like a ton of compression. Like and like hard. I wish I could find an example. Let me see if I can. Maybe I'll show this and just to make context, but I'm not gonna hate on this guy in the video.
One thing that I always have to like ask myself too is, and as soon as you said smooth jazz, I was like, that is Nick's algorithm. And I was like thinking, you know, just because, you know, I know that I'm like, you know, in such an echo chamber, you know, I think everyone is to an extent, you know, with their social media and stuff like that. And the stuff that is fed to them is, you know, their algorithm, obviously knowing them. And I know you know this all too well, but I don't think I get jazz dudes.
This is exactly
like
what I
do.
was thinking about.
It was?
Yeah.
Yeah, like gold. Like, that's an expensive ass guitar. What is that shirt?
Handsome dude wearing some cool ass clothes that I don't think I've ever seen in my life.
His licks sound like they're going to take your clothes off.
Like that face. I've never made that face into the camera.
I mean, good for him.
But it works. It works. Tosin's
your
jacked as all
algorithm
hell.
knows your shit.
Everyone's jacked. This guy's jacked. Tosin's jacked.
Yeah. Yeah, this is not my feed.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because I don't like any of it. But and this is the other thing I get targeted for is like Asian street food, like some dude in like Sri Lanka, like making chickpeas on the street. And
dude, my feed is so different.
Yeah, mine too. But that's interesting. I mean, I guess like if you're also getting Tosin and stuff, you know, like that's still of our era of prog metal. Yeah. So obviously that stuff is showing up in your feed, or at least, you know, something in that vein.
Yeah,
is palatable to you.
Yeah, I don't even know what my point is. I guess like it is. I guess it is different though. Is what I'm getting at. Is there is a new flavor. There's an old flavor.
Yeah. Man, what do you think of like groups like? So it seems like one thing that I've noticed, like with some of the bigger metal bands, when you mention Sleep Token, you know, they have like a gimmick and everything, right? They wear costumes and stuff, and they have like a backstory, right? Like a whole narrative.
Yeah. At least I don't know the backstory, but I know that they at least wear costumes.
Sure. Yeah. That's the extent, you know, to which I know about them too. But I know bands like Ice Nine Kills is like another, you know, kind of gimmicky band. I actually love that band. I love that band. I also love just like horror movies, but that's like their gimmick and stuff. And like, you know, every song's based on a horror movie. And I'm just like a sucker for like a poppy sounding chorus and stuff. And that's sort of what they, you know, bring into metal and you know, they, you know, aren't playing proggy stuff. You know, there's the occasional like insane guitar solo in there in terms of maybe like speed or something insane, but they're nowhere close to the prog metal that like we play, you know. But they just did a world tour with Metallica.
Oh yeah, I did know that. That's why the name is ringing a bell. Right. I haven't listened to them. It's funny how guitar is it's like there's an element of guitar that's speed guitar. But you don't see speed piano, speed saxophone. Like you have musicians that are like, you know, they can play fast licks, so they're known for having chops.
Yeah.
But there is a whole lane of guitar that's all about speed alternate picking and stuff like that. That's pretty funny.
So all of this to say, does Ever Forthright, before we release anything, do we need a gimmick? What are our costumes going to look like, man?
You know, I was telling Billy, talking about the album art and the logo and things like that with this next release, Billy and I were saying that we think our strongest asset is nostalgia. Like and so we kind of went into the whole art process thinking, let's just keep it closely tied to what people know. You know, it's one thing if you're morphing over time and changing, but if you're putting out something for the first time in over a decade, I think it'd be kind of cooler to tie it back to what people remember.
That's true.
I mean, you've seen the album art. It's an ode to what it was in the past.
100%. Yeah.
So but I'm really cool with. I'm really happy with like what I've seen so far.
Yeah. Me too. I think it looks cool.
Man, these things fly by. This is already an hour. Like,
yeah,
who's gonna
that flew by, man.
An hour.
Yeah. I appreciate you having me, man. This is awesome.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I always say we could like end up talking for hours on this thing, but you know, there's always next time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just let me know, man. It's a little easier, I guess, when it's not like 10 people like last time.
Oh, so much easier.
Yeah.
So much easier.
I hope the editing is a little easier for you, Omar.
We're using some
Autopod, baby.
Autopod now.
That has literally saved me like 7 or 8 hours of work.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not familiar. I haven't done this. Okay,
It's
gotcha.
amazing.
Good. All right, dudes. Well, thanks again for having me.
Mike, again, awesome. Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure, man.
Yeah, we'll see you again soon. Hopefully people can hear this Ever Forthright sooner rather than later.